guys, Monica here, coming to you for the Monica Brant Show. And as always, I'm super excited about my guest today. And I hope you stay tuned to the very end of our session because I do have a personal question that I want to ask him at the very end. But as always, I have very good guests on, and I'm always excited about my guests because number one, these are people that have helped build our industry, our fitness and bodybuilding industry, sometimes from back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, and sometimes always all the way just, currently. So I'm really excited about our guests because I always learn something new, not just about health and fitness, but also about the person. And of course, I'm a relationship person. So for me, getting to know my guest is always a thrill. So without further ado, my guest today has graduated and played football for the University of Tennessee. He is a professional trainer and nutritionist. He's a certified golf fitness specialist, fitness instructor. This past summer, he obtained the prestigious IFBB Pro status in the classic physique category. He's a head coach and founder of Tailored Health and Fitness Training out of Gym One in Austin, Texas, so not too far from me here in San Antonio. He's a husband and a father to a beautiful set of dogs. Let's welcome my guest, Jonny Catanzano.
Hi, Monica. How are you? I love the proud dad of two beautiful dogs. I'm sure a lot of people were waiting for the kids, but it's dogs.
I know, right? Well, I don't have children myself. I have godchildren, but I don't have children. So for me, having the opportunity to have animals is a pleasure, and they are very important and part of our family, right?
Absolutely. I agreed 100%. And thank you for having me on the show and the opportunity to talk with you today.
I'm excited. Well, we got to speak together was it in 2019, I think, for Six Pack Abs. So
yeah,
that was awesome and fun. And you did such a great job. So hopefully I can do the same job for you that you gave for me.
I'm sure of it. I'm sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm still learning this interview thing because it's different, right? Being on this side of the
table. Well, now that we're doing it, you and I were face to face 2019. Now we've gone through COVID and that whole thing. So this is more now the normal than the way we did it before, right?
Exactly.
Still a learning curve with it though.
I know, but it's great because you get to, be one-on-one with somebody still and feel the energy and the enthusiasm and also just kind of get to know where somebody is. So speaking of that, how has 2020 and 2021 been for you? Like what accomplishments and what challenges have you faced? Because it is a crazy time of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a whirlwind, and there definitely have been some challenges, but with every challenge, I guess almost kind of comes a triumph depending on how you handle it. The first challenge I had in 2020 was having our wedding. So we were slated to get married in December of 2020, which, as you know, was kind of like right around that pandemic time, especially in the lockdown, like towards the end of the main lockdown. But fortunately enough, we had planned our wedding in Mexico. So we were still able to go through with it. And the majority of people we invited still went. It was great. So we got married right in December of 2020, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Things started going great right then and there. Right before that, I had competed in a national level show in, I think it was October or November 2019. And I did well. I placed top 5. So right before that, I knew I was like, okay, you are heading in the right direction. You're doing well. You're doing the right thing. So then we got married. We had the wedding. And then because that show was actually delayed, another hurdle of 2020 is I was supposed to compete at that show 6 months prior. So I was dieting down and getting all ready for the show. And then guess what? The show's canceled / moved back 6 months. So did the show, did okay, did well, top 5, and then got married. And then because they put the show back on the normal schedule, I wanted to do the same show again because I did well and I wanted to, see how I could do the next year. Then it was only 8 months away. So I had less than a year to prepare that time.
I like that. Only 8 months.
Only 8 months, right?
I mean, it does, I get it for, what you do and what the men, well, I shouldn't say men, but bodybuilding and, you need those kind of months, right? To really prepare and be ready for that. Sometimes, for some of the other stuff, it's a little bit easier to prepare for, but
100%. And don't get me wrong, not all 8 months were spent like dieting. And that's And you're right. We need time to build
What's going on?
Can you hear me?
I can. I'm not sure what's going on. I have hardwire on my computer, so not sure why we're having issues, but
Okay. I can hear you loud and clear.
Good.
So, but yeah, because a lot of that time we need that time to build muscle too. And that's actually a slower process than burning or losing fat. So a lot of that 8 months was spent really trying to gain muscle where I felt like I was kind of lacking. But anyways, long story short, I ended up doing well in the contest and getting the pro card done this past summer. I also this year had another big hurdle was with the company that I was previously employed with, Six Pack Abs, who that's how we got to speak in person on the podcast. Some things kind of got turbulent there, and I ended up having to venture out on my own. So, like I said, with every kind of like hurdle comes a triumph. Now I'm fully on my own with my company, and it's going great.
That's awesome. That's how we have to be able to take things that come at us, right, and learn from them and be able to grow from them too, right? And that's what makes entrepreneurs successful, I believe, is being able to take a trial and turn it into a triumph, like you said. And that's great. Well, I'm excited about learning more about it. And I know you have so much information. In fact, one of the things that I really enjoy doing is kind of diving into different videos of my guests and either, being able to hear how they speak and what they know. And so one of your videos I watched was on deadlifting. Okay. And you were doing a informational deadlift video. And so that inspired me for my question that I'm going to ask you at the end of our recording.
Okay.
I know.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm on the edge of my seat.
You're cute. So let's go back a little bit before we talk more about, the IFBB award. I know that's a really awesome thing to have, and especially you've worked so hard. But let's hear more about how little Jonny grew up, where you grew up, and how you got into. Because I know you did walk on football player, which is pretty cool. And let's hear about your history.
Yeah, born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with lovely parents, a very loving family, and a sister, an older sister. We grew up right outside of Pittsburgh, PA, in a town called Murraysville. I'd say it's about 20 minutes east of downtown Pittsburgh. So, born and raised in the Steel town, big Steeler fan, sports fan growing up. My dad had me start playing football when I was about 5.5, 6 years old is when I first started playing football.
Oh, okay. Did your dad want to do that to make sure you were going to be a good football player because he loved it? Or is he just like, hey, I'm dad and we need to throw the football?
So he played it too. And I think it's, he wanted me to enjoy a lot of the things that kind of molded him as a man in life, and football being one of those. And man, I look back on all those things that he had me do, and I'm like so thankful that he did, even though at the time, and maybe from the outside, a lot of people are like, oh, are they forcing that kid to do that sport? Or does the kid even really like that sport? Of course there were times like, oh, I don't want to go to practice, that sort of thing. But looking back, I mean, I thank him every day for he never forced me. He would ask me if I want to do those things, and then he would help guide me, But football obviously was an important thing to his heart and soul. And so I know he really wanted me to try it out. And once he saw me play as little and I was good, then he always wanted the best for me and that opportunity to excel, whether through high school or even into the collegiate level.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
So started off playing, pee-wee football, all sports when I was little, but the main sport was football. And that's how I got into fitness and bodybuilding. He took me to the Arnold Classic in 1996 in Columbus. He was working for a fitness company at the time, and they were going to the trade show to promote Ostrom, which is the ostrich meat snacks. They actually still sell these.
Oh,
so they have these. They're sold in like GNC and Vitamin Shop. I still see them. So he was working in marketing there. So he took me to the Arnold, and this was right around the same time where I was just old enough to start working out in the gym. At our gym at home, that you had to be, I think it was 12 or something to be able to allow to work out and use the gym.
Okay.
So he took me to the Arnold Classic, and I was just, enamored by the whole
What
thing.
Year? What year were you?
It was 1996.
Because I was there.
You had to be there. I know you were there.
I was there.
Yeah, 100%. And for those of you watching at home, that's when I fell in love with bodybuilding, and I started reading the magazines, and I literally had magazines with Monica all over them. And I mean, it's a weird thing. It's not weird. It's cool how, you know, we've been able to talk and make friends. It's like I was literally looking at you in the magazines when I was a kid. So for sure you were there. So that's how I fell in love with the whole fitness and bodybuilding thing. Bodybuilding to build muscle for myself for sports and to help with football. But I also just kind of found myself gravitating towards the sport as like, wow, these guys, even the men and even on the women's side, like I've always just kind of been into and followed bodybuilding, just the competitive side of things. So that's how I got into the whole fitness thing. My dad being a fitness guy and kind of for football. So that's, you know, kind of the childhood thing. And you know, my mom, she was she worked at a car dealership as a salesperson for years and years. She was like top salesperson in Western Pennsylvania. So I had the athletics and, you know, business practices in my blood from my dad. And then my mom, I had this like amazing salesmanship, but also just, she comes from a really hardworking family with 7 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
So I just I was so fortunate that like, I'm just blessed to have these genetics, put these two things together. And then, you know, that's kind of how I ended up being able to play sports, but also excel in the fitness side of things. But realistically, I was just really in love with the fitness side of things kind of the whole time.
So you started working out at 12.
Yes.
That's awesome. You know, it's interesting because I just did my last couple men's interviews, 𝗬cie and Steve Cardillo. You know,
wow.
Steve, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Cardillo weight belts, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So both of them have these cool stories of how they started and their dad got them involved, got them their dumbbells. I mean, Steve Cardillo still has dumbbells that his father made him and gave him. He still has them in his home gym and says, oh yeah, I use them once in a while. Right. And he's in his late 50s. So I think he had his around 12 or 13, something like that as well. And then 𝗬cie said his dad gave him his first set of dumbbells, which he doesn't have anymore. He said they were these plastic things, but he had them, I think, at age 11, maybe. So
it's interesting you say that. It's interesting you say that. I have a photo. I don't have it here. I have a photo of me and one of my friends that live down the street with the Christmas tree in the background, and we have out my weight set that I got for Christmas. And I was maybe 7. These are the plastic weights that you filled up with water or put sand in them. Do you remember those?
That's what Lee was talking about.
That's what they were. So I have there's one of me on the bench press with them, 7 or 8 years old. I had a mullet and everything. It was amazing picture.
Aww.
So, but that's very interesting that you,
that's so
you know,
fun.
𝗬cie went on to win 8 Mr. Olympias.
I don't know what's going on with our internet, but we're kind of losing stuff here and there. So I don't know if you're seeing it, but I'm seeing it on my end. But anyways,
I see a little flash in there, but we're good.
We're good. That's right. People can handle it, right? Great information.
Yep.
I love the fact that, I mean, not just you, but like I just said, Lee and Steve, they both had such a unique, and you two, obviously, a unique time and memory and relationship built with their father when you're with your father. And I just think that's so special. And what a memory to create, you know, and to have. Is your dad still alive?
Oh, he is. He is. They actually, oh man, I love my parents, both of them. They're still alive and they're doing well. They're actually just now moving out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So my mom grew up in the town we lived in. So she's been there since the 50s. And my dad has been born and raised in Pittsburgh since, the late 40s. So they've been there forever. So we just sold their house because there was almost 5 acres. It's a lot. There was actually like a lot of grass to cut.
Yeah.
My dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2005, and he's actually managed that very, very well. But we're also realistic, and that's just a lot to take care of. So we wanted to downsize them, and we wanted them to move them closer to us. And my sister lives in North Carolina, so they're actually just landed or just got to Raleigh, I think yesterday. And they're going to be selling their house in Pittsburgh and making North Carolina the new home, which I'm excited for them. It's kind of a new chapter for them in their 60s and 70s at their young ages. But but yes, I had and still have very close relationship with my mother and father, and I still thank them to this day for every opportunity they've laid out in front of me. Because I was fortunate enough that I capitalized on it, though. I still had to do a little work. Nothing was just handed to me, but they helped give me the opportunity.
That's awesome. I love it. So they're going to be living near your sister, right?
Yes.
And do you have more siblings than just the one?
Nope, just the older sister, and she works for an education company where she does a lot of traveling actually, and she handles a lot of it's like back office education software for like tax and reporting services, really complicated stuff.
Sounds like she likes numbers, and she's probably good with spreadsheets.
She's very good with spreadsheets. She's very responsible. She's good with numbers. She's a very people person. She's awesome.
Aww.
I love my sister.
That's awesome. Sound like you've had such a great family and growing up, and it's so important because especially now, like just families are getting torn apart with so many different things, right? Like
so many different things.
I know.
So many different things, for whether it's COVID or mental health issues or just whatever it may be, but they've always supported and been in my corner too, which, in the bodybuilding world, a lot of people are just that aren't in it or don't know it. It's just, it kind of seems like a foreign thing. I'm in bodybuilding. My parents were coming to the shows and my sister was messaging me about it, even though they're really not involved in it. They were always supportive of it.
That's great. That's great. Well, so you have had two really big things happen within 2020 and 2021. Number one, and most importantly, you got married. And then secondly, you had an IFBB Pro card status. And
Got it.
I shouldn't ask you this because it's probably not a fair question, but was one more exciting than the other? And
to be honest, I'll answer that. And I'll be honest, honestly, as a whole, the wedding was way more fun. The wedding is going to be an amazing, just because we did the destination wedding. So we were down there for almost a week. And that was kind of part of the reason I wanted to do that, because with a wedding, it's usually like a one night thing. Maybe there's a rehearsal dinner too.
Right.
Usually it's like 24 hours, bing, bam, you're done. You spent 20, 30 grand. That's it.
and you're off to the wedding races or the marriage races.
You're off to the marriage race. Exactly. So I wanted to really have a nice kind of like event that everybody could remember it. And we had about 30 people there, but that ended up being amazing. It was all of our family and friends and close family. And it ended up being quite an experience. So yeah, if I had to pick what was overall more fun and more of like a memorable experience, it was definitely the wedding. Not to take away, because that moment on stage was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
I'm glad you said that. I'm sure that I could have answered that for you because of just knowing who you are and a little bit I know about you. But, I guess the cool thing is the wedding was a very beautiful, personal enjoyment and satisfaction. And of course, it's God put together marriage, so we need to participate in that. But then the award of the IFBB Pro status, that's a very cool piece for your business and
Correct.
The longevity of your business and the professionalism and all that. And I know also just you've been an athlete and a competitor, so it's pretty cool to have that title under your belt.
Yes. Yeah, to be able to call yourself a professional athlete in a sense, or say I'm a professional in this and be like legitimized, and with the IFBB, it being like, it's the biggest of the big. I mean, it's like the NFL of fitness. It's like the Major League Baseball. It's like the biggest of the big. So you're up against the biggest talent out there. So it's just you prove to yourself, hey, I'm here and I'm meant to do this. I'm able to do this. But like you said, for the business aspect as well, so getting the card was kind of like a childhood dream thing. I remember looking in the magazines thinking, I think I can do this one day. I want to do this one day. And so really it manifested itself. And it's just, but as I aged, and then I started to think, well, yeah, it would be cool to be a professional. I still want to do that, but it would also be good for business, because that gives you a lot of credibility. It gives you a lot of, like, people are really going to trust you, because if you know what it takes to become a professional, then obviously you're going to know a little bit about fitness. Now, it's changed a little bit. There are a lot of people out there that are, professionals that call themselves coaches who may not know as much or whatever. But that's just one thing I pride myself in doing, is being, educated as well as walking the walk and having a pro card.
Absolutely. So you're utilizing both the award and all the experience you've used, but also you put yourself through a lot of education. I mean, just looking at, your information here: certified golf fitness specialist, you're a certified trainer, you're a certified nutritionist, certified group fitness instructor. Like, that's a lot of certifications. So tell me, how many years have you been working on educating yourself? And I know you've also graduated with, your degree from University of Tennessee. So you've been in college, and then how long has it been that you've been taking all these certifications And
that started relatively soon after college, I would say. 2 years. So I got a job with a Fortune 500 company selling building materials. An amazing company. It was a really cool job in my early mid-20s. The ability to travel around and have an expense account and all this stuff. It was cool. I learned a lot from that. But I also learned I'm not very passionate about building materials. So I would find myself in these meetings, literally sitting there, and it's not like I wasn't paying attention, but it was just hard for me to really have passion about lineal feet and board feet and fascia board and all that stuff. So that's when I was and I knew I really liked fitness. So that's when I started the first take the courses to get my CPT, to become a personal trainer. So I started there. I guess that was probably 2012, 2013, right when I got into competing. And since then, every year to 2 years, I try to do another CEU or two. So continuing education through NASM, who I got my CPT from. They do a really good job of staying kind of on the forefront in the health, the fitness, and nutrition field, and allowing and giving you the opportunity to get these certification credentials. So every year or two, I'm doing a new one, and I'll probably never stop. The most recent one being corrective exercise specialist, which is really, really good for aches and pains, coming out of injury rehab or injury prevention, just day-to-day mobility, flexibility work, that sort of thing.
Well, I think that one is really important because I know everyone's got an ache, everyone's got a pain, everyone's got something hurting, whether it's, from sitting too much to, training hard and intense, or having wrong form, or having an accident. So, I mean, that one's going to go forever and ever.
I probably honestly almost use the information, the knowledge I get out of that almost more than the general personal training knowledge I got, just because with my business, I'm dealing with your day-to-day people, with Joe and with Sally, with the business owner, a business traveler, or a stay-at-home mom, because those are the people that honestly need the most help. But those are a lot of the people who have the aches and pains. And it's like, you don't necessarily need to go to the doctor for this. I can help with this. You're sitting at the desk all day. Your shoulders are rounded forward all day. They're an extension and flexion. We need to correct that. And we can do that if you just give me a little time. So that's, right. I really enjoy that.
Man, that's awesome. The last 10 years, I've been really coaching myself and learning how to coach others on better posture, glute activation, and all that piece of that whole posterior chain. And yes. I would love to actually take some courses on that specific, because I think it's so important for now. And I'll say one thing too, this is just because I always, I'm so big on faith and fitness. And there's a scripture in Luke 21:28, and it says that we are to be aware of what's going on around us, and understand the times. But it also says that as the day draws near, we are to look up and be watching for our Lord. So I always look at that verse and I think about all the bad posture from being bent over on the phones, and the phone just brings you down, and people being depressed and their head down, and then it pulls the whole body forward, and then sitting over their tablets or something too much. And so I feel like that's a good verse for us to think about, because it says look up, like get up off your tablet, phone, whatever, and stand up. Lift your eyes up, right?
Look up. Things are always can be moving forward and can be on the upward if you were just pay attention rather than be buried.
Right.
Paying attention.
Oh my goodness. We have crazy internet today. Lots of pauses here, but I think we can keep working around it. I'm confident in that. Okay, so let's kind of step back to six-pack abs, and I'm curious, how did you get started with the company? And another question is, why do you feel the viewership grew so large while you were there?
Great questions. So six-pack abs, which was when I first joined on with them, it was called Six-Pack Shortcuts at the time. And they were, so when I joined them, it was right when I was kind of getting into the whole competing. This was in like 2011, 2012. I was getting into competing. And another kind of like the childhood goal, besides getting a pro card, was to be in one of those magazines as a fitness model. So I started exploring that whole avenue. And I was actually literally like looking on Craigslist for gigs, trying to like build a portfolio and get photos and this sort of thing. And I came across this listing they were looking for somebody to do fitness videos on YouTube. And this was when YouTube still really wasn't as popular. I mean, people knew what YouTube was, but not near as what it is now. People weren't making millions of dollars off of YouTube really at the time yet.
Right. Right.
So I saw this and they were like, we're looking for a fitness personality to do a video shoot, something. So I went and I met with these guys, and they were in an apartment up in the Domain, which is this area here in North Austin where there's like shops and these like kind of newer apartments. So I went in there and I was like, I don't know about this. I'm not sure about this. And then they kind of told me what was going on, and it was just a couple guys. And then so I went and I did this. Yeah, I know, right? So I went and I did this shoot, and it was at Metroflex in Austin, and we recorded videos for it. Was we filmed for like 2 or 3 straight days for like 12 or 16 hours a day, like, and we were working out the whole day. So it was like 3 of the longest days of my life. But I got paid. I got paid well for it. Had a good time, and at the end of that, they actually asked me to come back and if I wanted to be on the YouTube channel. And that's where they let me do, where they gave me, so at the time they had 2 channels. It was Six Pack Shortcuts and then Insane Home Fat Loss. So they put me in charge of the Insane Home Fat Loss channel. And I was able on my own kind of take that. It went from like 100,000 subscribers to like almost 1 million in probably like less than a year. Meanwhile, the Six Pack Shortcuts channel was just blowing up. I mean, they went from a couple 100,000 subscribers to like 3 or 4 million in just, I mean, it was maybe a year. And
wow,
a big reason. So they had one face guy at the time, Mike Chang, and it was Mike Chang Fitness. Okay. And he was, a lot of people gravitated to him for some reason on with his videos. And that is how they accelerated a lot of that growth. And then as they started to grow, they brought in guys like me, Clark Shao, who was another guy who actually ended up passing away. Rest in peace, Clark. Great guy. They Henry Tran. They brought on a couple, Mark McGillier, who did the stuff for the older guys, the Abs After 40. And so they kind of brought on a team of other fitness trainers and personalities, faces, I guess, for a few reasons. One, to obviously increase the breadth of product and to kind of get their feelers out on YouTube. But also because some stuff started to happen with Mike Chang, the main guy, and they realized maybe we shouldn't base our whole company off of one face. It's kind of how that panned out, how I got involved.
Okay. That's pretty amazing though. Like that viewership that's overwhelming within such a short amount of time.
So, I mean, so Mike and I kind of became friends, and we would hang out outside of, Six Pack, and we would, just friend stuff. And literally I couldn't go anywhere without going to Whole Foods and somebody come up, hey, you're Mike Chang. And a few times I would have people recognize me too, but obviously for him, it was, he was being the main face guy. But also like even now, 7, 8, 9 years later, I still have people saying, oh my gosh, bro, I remember you. You're the whole reason I started working out. You and Mike Chang, and I'll sit there and I'll literally want to hug this person, because it's like, that's the whole reason I did what I did, was because I just wanted to help. I wanted an opportunity for myself to get into fitness more involved, but I also like helping people and educating people on fitness. So that was definitely really cool to see come full circle. It was like, man, you're the whole reason I got into fitness.
That is so cool. So how long were you with them exactly? How many years?
So I started filming with them kind of on the part-time thing from 2012 to about 2016. Then I actually left that job with the Fortune 500 company to work with Six Pack full time. They brought me in to run, because they knew I was getting into training and coaching, and they wanted me to run their what they called platinum coaching at the time, their coaching department, which was, we were talking to guys all over the world, Australia, Canada, Europe, I mean, all over the world, because of YouTube. So we developed a coaching program where I was basically one-on-one coaching these guys. And I did that full time there from 2016. And I pretty much kind of created it from the ground up. They had a loose, we think we want to do this. We think we want to do this. But I kind of came in and put more of a managerial, touch on it, a little bit more of a structure to it. I had help from a couple coworkers too, but it was mainly kind of my child that I developed from 2016 to 2020, which we, at one point, and I mean, we did no advertising on this coaching product, and we sold over $1 million in coaching in 1 year. Yeah. Wow. So this was all sold mainly over the phone too, which somebody would buy, let's say, $300 worth of supplements. One of our online fitness coaches would call them and say, hey, you know, what are you really trying to accomplish here? What are your goals? You just bought a lot of stuff. And then certain people, depending on what they're trying to accomplish, they would get me on the phone then, and then I would potentially close them on coaching.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Wow. So you had coaches all over around the world that you were working with, and were they selling your products or the products as well? Is that part of it?
So we were mainly centrally located here in Austin, and we were selling on the web, but then also selling on the phone. And let's say somebody from, you know, Australia bought something, we would literally call them in Australia at the right time of day because of the time days. And we would build out a game plan for them. This wasn't really what I did on a daily basis. I was more of the private coaching, like creating custom workout plans and meal plans. But on the day-to-day, like the sales guys, they were kind of engaging these men and women from all over the world, finding out what their goals are. What are they trying to accomplish? And it's like, okay, well, you bought this workout program, but really you also need this nutrition program if you really want to see the results, that sort of thing. So it was a really cool experience. And I really learned a lot from as much time as I spent on the phone talking with clients and customers from all over the world. I would go back and do it all over because I learned so much, and now I can apply it to my business.
Right. Now you've got your own thing, and you have all the tricks of the trade.
Exactly.
And all the education and all of it. That's so cool.
Exactly.
Well, wow. So what we're going to do is we're going to go kind of change gears. We're going to do our rapid fire questions.
Oh, yeah.
Fun 10 random questions for you. Then we're going to come back, and I've got some other questions for you after our short break. And pick your brain a little bit. Okay. So are you ready? Are you ready, Jonny?
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. What's your favorite type of vehicle, and do you always wear a seatbelt?
Favorite type of vehicle? Well, I probably got to say I love my BMW. I have my M5. I have an M5. I don't drive it every day because I've got like a 4Runner that I drive daily, so I keep the miles low on the M5. Do I always wear a seatbelt? Yeah, I do. I really do, mainly because I don't want to hear that dinging. But I'm a pretty safety oriented guy, so I do wear a seatbelt. Good question.
I have a BMW, and I love my BMW as well, and I know about the dinging. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
What is the last thing you did spontaneously?
Oh, spontaneously, what's the last thing I did? I think went golfing by myself just because I couldn't, all my friends were busy or out of town, and I really wanted to go. So I just went by myself and played 18.
You got to keep your swing up. You got to keep your swing up.
Got to keep it good.
Yeah, exactly. And then since you're a golf specialist, golf training specialist, you can use that as a write-off, right?
Yes, absolutely.
We always got to remember those things. All right. Yeah. If you were to binge on something delicious, what would it be? And would you do this alone or with company?
If I was your wife. Yeah, I would definitely be with my wife, so I felt better about myself. I would say, babe, you got to binge with me. And it would more than likely be Italian food and then froyo afterwards.
Ooh.
Froyo with layers of treats in the froyo. So you know how you go to the froyo place and you can pour the froyo in the thing, the different. So I usually go like get one flavor, and then I'll go pour some of the treats in, and then I'll do another flavor. And then
Perfect. Okay, and what about Italian food? What kind? First thing on your head.
Anything pasta with meat in it, especially angel hair. It's got to be angel hair.
Okay, angel hair. I do like that's the
real
hair.
That's the real thin stuff.
The real thin.
Capellini angel hair. It's got to be.
And do you use a sauce on it?
Usually a red sauce guy. Usually a red sauce guy. Yeah.
Not the white sauce.
I like light sauce. Yeah, I like a little sauce. I don't like it like swimming in sauce.
Not too saucy.
It's got to be red. Not too saucy. Couple meatballs on the side, and definitely Parmesan cheese on top.
Okay, that totally sounds good, and it totally sounds very Italian. Are you Italian?
I am. Yeah, Catanzano.
Catanzano.
Catanzano's very Italian. The Italian comes from the dad side.
All right. What side of the bed do you sleep on? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. What side of the bed do you sleep on, and who makes the bed mostly between you and wifey?
So I sleep on the driver's side of the bed, if you're picturing it. Okay. I sleep on the driver's side. Wife is in the passenger side, and who makes the bed? Definitely her. Just about every morning. Just about every morning.
Hey, I know when I come home, if if my husband has made the bed and nicely, he's doing something out of love for me to show me that he's considerate of what I like. So it's kind of nice because he doesn't care about the bed made. All right. And I'm always like, he must need something or want something or he wants to show me love.
Yeah. Some sort of question's coming.
All right. Name one way, speaking of wife, name one way your wife makes you feel respected.
Just the way she talks to me. I mean, just the way she looks or even talks to me. I know that she respects me. And especially when she'll ask me about certain topics, she does it because she's really smart. Let me tell you, she's a pharmacist. So she knows a lot. But also, I do find it interesting, or I find it, I feel respected, especially when she might ask me about something where I feel like she already knows, but she kind of wants my reinforcement.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really important. And, as a faith person, I always have to go back to what scripture says. And in scripture, it says that women are to respect their husbands and men are to love their wives. And so that's a question where that came from.
Love it.
Yeah. If you had to live 1 month as a professional fitness, figure, physique, whatever competitor from any decade or bodybuilder, and this would be female, obviously, who would it be?
80s. No question. Question. Because of the clothes. Yeah. The fitness and bodybuilding clothes in the 80s were just not to be trifled with. The bright colors, the big. I've got some.
Well, no. Do you have a competitor that you're thinking of from back then that you would walk in her shoes for 1 month?
A female competitor?
Uh-huh.
Maybe Monica Brant in her early years, I would say.
Well, that would be the 90s, but
well, that's So in the 80s, maybe like Corey Everson.
Yep.
Maybe Sharon Bruno.
Right.
Yeah. There were some hotties, and they were kind of walk the walk back then and had that 80s motif. Even your boy Lee Haney had some pretty good fitness gear. I remember seeing from his picture in Flex magazine and that sort of thing.
Oh my gosh, the internet today is driving. Okay, we back?
We're back.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on, but anyways. Okay, when showering, how often do you wash behind your ears and between your toes? Or do you?
Ooh, between the toes, probably not often enough. Behind the ears every time. Between the toes, yeah. I mean, I clean the feet, but I don't necessarily get in the toes. I more let the water do it. So I should probably do that more often.
I hear, it's kind of funny. I wash my toes every time I'm in the shower, and I'm really particular about drying my feet in between my toes. And I'm always thinking, how do people not do this? But it's more time. 9 times out of 10, people don't do it, and they're like, "Oh, the water does it." I'm like, maybe I'm just weird. I don't know.
Now that we're talking out loud about it, no, the water does not clean in between your toes.
All right, here's one for you. Name 3 of the 7 dwarfs.
Sleepy, happy, and bashful.
I think so. I had them written down and I don't have them in front of me, but we'll go with that. But most people can't even get. Grumpy and dopey are 2 as well, but
Grumpy and dopey, that's right.
Most people can't get them. Bashful may be one. I can't remember. I didn't write them down there. We've had them in the past, and it's always fun to see if people remember them. Okay, favorite glute exercise for women?
Probably gonna have to be squats, or let's say, probably like RDLs, Romanian deadlifts, or like a stiff-legged deadlift. Okay. Really biasing the glutes. Probably from those are definitely got to be the best. Personally, because I like those and I feel those a lot, but also client feedback while they're doing them, and then like 2 days after, always the best from those exercises.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, and then of course, favorite chest exercise for men.
Favorite chest exercise for men, I would say dumbbell incline chest press, specifically.
Okay.
Dumbbell. Yeah.
Good. I like that. I'm not a huge fan of bar stuff for that chest stuff because I think it's hard on the shoulders. So maybe I'm on the right path there.
It is. It can be hard on the shoulders and balances too. Your body's always going to find the path of least resistance. Mm-hmm. So if you're always using barbells, your stronger side is always going to take over one way or another. That's
great advice. We're going to come back here in just a quick couple minutes. So Don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back with more from Jonny Catanzano. Hi everyone, Monica here. Just wanted to thank you so much for watching the Monica Brant Show, and don't forget to subscribe, like, share these videos, and oh yeah, and that little bell notification, don't forget to click that so you'll get more great content every time there's a show uploaded or a video or anything else. So you guys, thank you so much for your support, and as always, stay fit and love life.